We are here today to talk about content that connects. Is it the worst feeling in the world to work so hard on a campaign, developing content that's creative, energizing, and then it goes nowhere? And just the opposite of that, isn't it just invigorating to see your materials that you've worked so hard on really resonate, have relevance, and help build relationships on an engaging perspective? And so that's really what we're here to talk about today. As you all know, customers are making choices every day. They are being bombarded with content, messages, promotions, deals, offers, you name it. They are being bombarded with content. And we have to help brands actually take that content and make it relevant to the brands and build trust. Today we're going to talk about how local stories can actually take global brands and bring them to life, and really talk about what really connects content to brands. We have to help these brands bridge these gaps between global, local. And we're going to do that. We're going to talk about three things. I already mentioned those two. At Mitchell, we call it the inroads process. And it's all about relevance, resonance, and relationships, and how you help brands do that. Brands, from a relevant perspective, they make a promise. And it has to mean something to your clients, right? And so they must understand that even though it's a promise, it's got to be relevant. It's got to mean something to me. It's got to resonate. You know, someone in India can take something that a brand has developed and it mean one thing, but you take it to Indiana, it's going to mean something totally different. And so that relevance is so critical. You know, I think a great example of that I want to talk about just a little bit is recently, in the last 2 years, Hilton Hotels and Resorts, they developed a program called Wan Ying. And what they did was identify a trend where they saw that the Chinese traveler traveling abroad had actually increased from virtually zero to over 55 million a year. And so what they did was actually capitalize on that. And they looked at those trends and said, you know what? We're going to develop a program called Wan Ying, which means welcome in Chinese. And so they identified certain hotels that would be Wan Ying hotels. And when the Chinese traveler arrived at these hotels, they would find certain amenities. First of all, they more than likely would be greeted by a Chinese guest at the Chinese representative at the front desk. They would also then go to their room and more than likely find slippers and assorted teas and everything that they could find to make them feel at home. They would then go to the restaurant and they would have food there and delicacies and other things that would be representative of the Chinese traveler. And so it made them really, really feel at home. And I think that's just a great example of how a global brand stayed true to their brand promise of hospitality, but they really made it authentic and brought it down to that local level. And I just love that example. The second one I talked about is resonance. And there's so much noise out there today, and so we really think we need to really think about how we say it, what we say, and how to reach our audiences. So we talked a little bit actually this morning in one of the sessions about what we say. People want to hear stories that bring that emotion to life. They want to hear stories that will make their lives easier, simpler, all those types of things, and mean something to them. So that content has to connect. How we say it. Tone, style, flair, dialect. Can you imagine if I were the one standing behind that desk at Hilton and I'm greeting that Chinese traveler with this southern accent? It's not going to resonate, is it? And so it's real important to think about all of those things because, you can lose the impact of your campaign real quick, whether you're a brand or an agency, if you don't think about how things are coming across, and are you making it real? Are you talking to them the way they want to be talked to and the way that they understand it? So again, authenticity and being real. And then how do we reach them? I mean, we all know this, but there's so much out there. Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and blogs and websites and microsites and all those types of things. We never can forget that we have to use the right channel that they want to be reached through. It's not what we think is best or what we're trying to get the best coverage on. It's how do they want to be communicated to, and we can never forget that or lose sight of that. And then the third way is just building relationships. That is so critical and can often be overlooked. Brands want to have customers that are true brand fans, not just users. And so how do you build those relationships with them so that they'll keep coming back over and over again? So, just a few things. Of course, trust and consistency is important. How do you do that? One of the ways is you can put a local face to it. You can empower your local people to do something. Dave, I loved yesterday, I picked up the paper and I read some of the Black Friday specials. And what I loved was one of the things Walmart is doing now is allowing the store managers in these communities to actually designate promotions that they want to have specifically for that community, that store of the community concept. And I think that's so important because what it says is our people are important. We trust them, we're going to empower them, and we're going to allow them to do some promotions and call some things out that are important right here. And I just love that example. Of course, providing support for local causes. CSR is not an option anymore. Brands have to get involved. You have to make sure that you're involved some way, somehow. It needs to be part of your business. And then, of course, sourcing local products is another great way to be engaged in the local community. How can you show the brand values to those suppliers that are right there in your own community and do some business with them? I think that says a lot for brands when you can do that. And then the most important thing is, and in my opinion, none of us do this well, whether you're a brand or an agency, and that is using your people to tell your story. It's often, the last resort that we go to, and honestly, they are your best ambassadors. So how can we use our people to tell our local stories and give them an opportunity? I was telling Dave, we've talked so many times, so I worked at Walmart prior to being fortunate to join Mitchell Communications, and so spent a lot of time there, and I'll never forget, at the home office, we could be generating stories all day long and trying to address issues and things like that, but you walk in that store and you ask that cashier or that greeter, and what they say is going to really mean more because they trust them. So I know that's one thing that Walmart really does a good job of, is trying to get associates more engaged in telling that story, and I think that's real important. So with that, I would love to be able to turn it over to this fabulous panel. I want to introduce you to the folks here on the panel. We have David Tovar. He's the Vice President of Corporate Communications for Walmart. We have Naoko Katayama. She is with Dentsu. She's the Executive Planner in Tokyo. So she's actually here visiting with Dentsu and working out of the New York office, and we were just honored that she agreed to join us here on the panel to give us that global perspective. And then we have Brad Wahl, who is the Vice President of Marketing for Old Cracker Barrel Old Country Store. So he told me to make sure we put the Old Country Store on that. So Cracker Barrel Old Country Store. So really proud and appreciate you all three being here. What I'd like to do is actually start with the first question. And Dave, we'll start with you if that's okay. And that is, how do we really help brands? How do you as a brand, both of you and Naoko from an agency perspective, how do you help brands really develop messages that resonate? So Dave, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. First of all, I appreciate being here, and it's been great to interact with everybody during the conference so far. And Mitchell Communications is a great partner of Walmart's. We've had a very long history with them, and they do such a great job of on this very topic of bringing content to life and really maximizing the local storytelling that you could do, because as Sarah said, it's just so critical to the work that we do. So a little bit about Walmart. For those of you who don't know, we're a fairly large retailer. 460 some odd billion dollars in sales annually worldwide, 2.2 million employees around the world. Just in the U.S., we've got 1.4 million associates, about 4,100 stores, and we do a lot of research with our customers. We do a lot of public opinion research, and when we ask people what do they think about Walmart, it's the answers we get back. The large majority of the time is about their local store experience. That's what we're known for. And we have 140 million customers that come through our doors every single week. That represents about 2/3 of the U.S. adult population in this country, and that's their experience with Walmart. Now, the other people who don't shop our stores, the reason that they give most commonly for why they don't shop our stores is because there's not one near them. So as many people shop our stores, that's the same amount of people that are within about 3 miles of a Walmart. About 66% of people are within 3 miles of a Walmart. The people who don't shop our stores, they're people primarily, as you would expect, probably where many of you live, in places like New York, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, L.A., et cetera, big urban areas. So they don't know our brand as well. So it's a challenge to bring our brand to life with people like that because they don't interact with our store on a daily basis. So that's part of what we're trying to do. One example I'll share is Facebook. So every brand's on Facebook, millions of followers. We've got, I think, 35 million followers now or fans on Facebook right now. And Facebook keeps changing the algorithm, so who knows how many people actually receive our posts when we send them to them. I'm told it's somewhere in the mid-teens. But what we also did is we created 4,100 local Facebook pages, one per store in the US. And what's great about that is then we allow the store managers to then post things on those pages and really interact in their communities in a meaningful way. And that's just one example of some of the things that we're doing, Sarah.
Thank you. Brad?
I come at this a little bit different perspective as, I think, a marketer first, and PR is just really one of the channels that we use. So I don't even look at this question as just stories that PR creates, but it's really about what do we have to do with all of our marketing activities to make them relevant to whoever is engaging in that media channel. And I think the word I use most with our team and our organization, it's a word you used earlier, and it's we just have to be authentic. Our brand is actually a brand that is about storytelling every day. And so we stay within those parameters of authentic stories as much as possible. Dave just mentioned it also, our brand is not about just eating food or buying thin candy sticks or a sock monkey. It's about an experience overall. So, I think the relevancy for us is staying true to who we are, being authentic, and really involving the entire experience and not trying to be, this is terrible for me to say it, but try not to be a marketer all the time and be more of a storyteller.
Good. Let's play off of that a little bit, Brad, in terms of generating story ideas. So talk a little bit, if you could, about how you all generate story ideas.
Well, I don't know that we do generate story ideas. At the end of the day, our guests generate the stories for us. But also an important area for us is, again, one that you just mentioned earlier, and it is our employee base. We've got 60,000 employees throughout the country, and they have experiences every day with our guests. So we really go after two areas to try and build those stories. We certainly engage with our customers as much as we can, and we'll hear the story of the local high school in the Southeast follows football, and the coaches have their pregame meeting at the Cracker Barrel. We engage with our consumers through a variety of channels to hear those stories, and we build off of them. That's authentic. It's real. It's coming from the guest. It's not coming from us. Right. But we do use our employee base quite a bit. Again, they're the ones, in my office in Lebanon, Tennessee, I don't see a whole lot of customers every day, but, the people in the field do, and we engage with them a lot. We just recently had an annual managers meeting. And even the theme for the meeting was our stores, our stories. It talks about how stories are created every day in our restaurant. So we seek out the people in our field operation to really share with us what are those stories. And then as a marketer, I look for how can I take advantage of those stories as often as possible.
That's great. Naoko, any tips from you in terms of generating ideas?
Okay, so the generating idea. So actually, that's the idea, or that's the story tends to be generated by the brand manager of that's the client side. That's the person who is working in the headquarters, and then that's sometimes collaborating with the agency, who is directly working with them, and then the person who is working in as a local agency, that's since that actually I started working in New York about 6 months ago, and then before that, I have been working in Tokyo for the global agency for 25 years, and I look young, but not that young. And then, actually, sometimes I recognize that even though I would like to work directly to that storytelling, there is some kind of conflict, and then, but I think that okay. In the world of social, something has been, changed. That's because the brand is for consumers. So I think that's it's about a time to open the window and open the door to let the consumers to get in and jump in, and then to participate in the branding. I mean, the process of branding itself. And then if only the brand vision is duly shared among all of the stakeholders, for me, I think it doesn't really matter who is going to take a lead. However, that's the agency side. I think that we have to check and cross-check whether all of the brand experience is going to the right track, running in the right direction. And then we have to check and cross-check that all of the brand experience turn into the happiness. And then that's the positive way for the brand. And then this is the thing that we have to check. And then in that sense, I think that we should maintain the involvement for 24/7 all year long.
Good, thank you. David, what content resonates the most with Walmart customers?
I think this is not new to everybody in the room. You have to understand who your audience is. Excuse me. You have to understand who your audience is first in order to then create content that's relevant to them. So, Walmart core customer, on average, household income makes up between $30,000 and $60,000 a year. $30,000 to $60,000 a year. They live on about $40 a week for a family of 4 for food. I think the salad upstairs that I had for lunch in the restaurant was $30. So that would have eaten up 3/4 of the budget that you have for a week for a Walmart core customer. So you have to understand what they're going through. So I think getting back to the stories that matter to them, I think the example Brad shared, I think Cracker Barrel and Walmart share a lot of similarities in our brands, the people we serve, et cetera. Going back to the example of football, so I was in a store not too long ago in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And as Brad said, football is a big deal in the South. I'm from New York. When I moved down there, SEC football is a big deal. We talk about our stores, and we talk about the difference between a good store, a great store, and an exceptional store. And so this store manager, a good store would understand that it's a Saturday, it's a busy shopping day, that there's a football game going on. And they'll have their shelves will be stocked. They'll have plenty of cashiers there to get you through the checkout lanes. A great store understands that there's going to be 100,000 people nearby that are going to be tailgating. So they'll be putting out hot dogs and hamburgers and really pulling those items forward. Things like coolers and ice and all the things you might need to tailgate. This store that I happen to be in, which I would characterize as an exceptional store, understood that the forecast that day called for rain, and so that store put away all the hot dogs and hamburgers because realized that there wouldn't be a lot of people grilling, pulled forward things like ready-to-eat sandwiches, things that could be eaten on the go because you wouldn't be standing out in the rain. He also, the store manager, realized that when it rains, people need umbrellas and ponchos and things to dry off the seats, and had all those things pulled forward. And I asked him a question. I said, how did you know it was going to rain, and how do you know that you had all these items? And he said, every year, he'd been doing this for a long time. He looked at me like I was not very smart at running a store. And he said, every year, he just buys massive amounts of this for the hope that one time that it's going to rain. And inevitably it does, and he's ready to serve them. And so telling those kind of stories is what matters to our customers, and we try to communicate those kinds of things so they know that we're their destination for that. That's
good. Do you have a video you want to tee up?
Yeah, I think we have a video that we were going to show as well, which recently we did an announcement where we talked a lot about the opportunities that are available at Walmart. It's something that we get criticized on quite a bit, as you probably know. And we tried to, our critics characterize our jobs as low wage, little to no benefits, And so we've tried to show, and that our associates are downtrodden, uneducated, just in a bad place. And that nothing could be further from the truth. We have great associates that work at our stores, and they're proud of the jobs, and they're proud of working at Walmart. And so we recently did some on-the-spot promotions in our stores where literally executives walked in and promoted people. On the spot. It was kind of our very own like Oprah moment, Publishers Clearinghouse kind of deal. And we did events across the country with our top executives, and we captured some video of it. It really shows, kind of the enthusiasm and the excitement in our stores. So let's show the video.
Good morning!
Good morning!
Good morning! I was running back in from lunch, and I didn't know what was about to happen. They just were telling me something good. You need to come back to work right now.
Today is a big day for Walmart and for our associates.
I was like, what's going on? Can I finish my break? No, you gotta come right now.
I just want to start by saying thank you.
This is a very special store that's making lots and lots of progress.
I want to take the time to thank you and appreciate each and every one of you. I want to call up a few of my Walmart family members to help me on this special occasion. Cato, Essence.
Where's Stephanie?
Dakota Vincent.
You are getting promoted.
Please help me congratulating all 4 of these fellow associates for their promotions today.
At Walmart, every year we promote about 160,000 people.
The beautiful thing about Walmart is that it's the place for opportunity for growth and for development.
That is fabulous!
Today we had the chance to promote on the spot 6 of our associates.
My name's Chastity. I just got promoted to merchant supervisor.
We're going to be promoting 25,000 associates in the 4th quarter.
I enjoy working for Walmart. I've learned a lot, I've taught a lot, I've moved up a lot.
Today I got promoted to assistant manager, and I'm very, very happy.
It feels good. It makes me feel like I'm doing something right and it's being recognized.
Just goes to show you that hard work pays off in the end.
I don't have words for, it's very happy. I am very happy.
Whose Walmart is it? Who's number 1? Always.
Nothing gives me more satisfaction than to see people achieve their dreams.
It just warms the heart because we know that they're committed to the business, they're interested in helping serve customers. Just a really great day for us here at Walmart.
Brad, what about Cracker Barrel?
Well, we didn't promote a bunch of people recently. I guess what I would say, back on the comment around content, again, it still comes back to that authentic. We even use a term a lot of times within our organization of organic. We want it to come from the bottom up, and when I talk about the bottom, that's not to place it below anything, although I guess I just did inherently, didn't I? But it starts with the guests and the employees. We want all of our content, whether it's for PR stories or marketing in general, to start down there. And we want it certainly to engage in the overall Cracker Barrel experience. And when we talk about authentic, one of the things that's great about our brand is it is a unique restaurant experience. It is like none other. And as a marketer, that's a dream for me to have that. I don't have to really talk about, hey, what's the price of pancakes? When you come to Cracker Barrel, you get an experience that's beyond that. It's not just about the food. It's about the fact that you walk through an old general store and you're greeted by friendly people who welcome you to Cracker Barrel, and they invite you to try out a sock monkey or a squirrel that spins around in a basket on the floor and drives you crazy, or entices you to want to buy some candy, or most parents will recognize, get you to go back in the corner and grab your kids because they're back there playing checkers or shooting the cork gun or whatever else might be back there. But it's also even beyond that. A lot of content that I think resonates for us, again, is not selling product as much as it's selling an experience. I think we got 2 examples that I wanted to show. One is just in the way we do our advertising in general and sharing a commercial that really doesn't, again, sell a specific product. It sells an experience. But then when it comes to PR, we've got an example of a PR story that doesn't sell one thing, one specific product, it again highlights something that resonates and actually started with our guests' passion for the decor that is in our locations. And again, that's a story that a lot of people would say, well, why did you push that from a PR perspective? And I think what you'll see at the end of the day is people nod their heads and go, you know what, that is something that's unique to the brand Cracker Barrel and gets me to want to go there for chicken and dumplings in the future because I'm going to look at the decor that's unique on those walls. So I think we can roll those videos.
Okay.
They say home is where the heart is. At Cracker Barrel, we say it's whatever you put your heart into. So join us at ours. You're always welcome.
Restaurant chain Cracker Barrel has been a favorite of American road trippers for decades with its down-home Southern cooking and stores filled with an assortment of knickknacks. But ever wonder how they find all those little treasures? Carrie Sanders decided to find out.
In rural Tennessee, where holding on to old-time values is treasure, Larry Singleton's treasure is finding value in a piece of the old time.
You know, this is one I just picked up here recently. I don't think I've ever seen one. It was for Roy Acuff's own flour.
Larry is unlike most collectors. Not because his living room looks like a museum.
It's a 1930s Coca-Cola sign.
Rather because he gets paid to collect American memorabilia.
I believe I really do have the best job in the world.
Larry inherited this job from his parents, who were hired by a man with a dream. 43 years ago, Dan Evans wanted to turn a gas station into a general store. It would be called Cracker Barrel.
Got the hamburger platter right here.
Today, with 620 stores in 42 states, this restaurant chain from Lebanon, Tennessee, fills each location with pieces of Americana.
I'm sure I'm not alone. Most people probably think that stuff is a replica. It's real.
Yeah, it's all authentic. You know, even if since the beginning, you know, Cracker Barrel started, they said we're going to use the original pieces, and since 1969, we've got out and hunted and dug and got into buildings to, you know, to continue to use authentic pieces.
If his home is a museum,
here's an early check writer.
Well then,
for printing checks.
Cracker Barrel's warehouse,
old cream cans, metal cream cans,
is an archive of American history, where relics are restored, barcoded, and then categorized.
Byerly's orange drink.
Happifies thirst, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Each collectible is carefully staged in a mock store before a new Cracker Barrel opens.
How do they pay for all this? With success. If you'd invested $1,000 in this company's stock in the early 80s, today that stock would be worth close to $1 million.
Each store's decor is unique, but with two constants. The memorabilia is not for sale, and no one can ever figure out what that thing is hanging from the ceiling.
It's a hand washer that they used to wash clothes in a wash tub.
And now you know. For today, Carrie Sanders, NBC News, Lebanon, Tennessee.
And Naoko.
Yep.
How would you like to share with us? Would you share with us?
Yes.
Some examples in terms of brand campaigns you've worked on and how it resonates.
Okay, so the first campaign that I would like to share with you is a Honda, the corporate campaign. And everything was started from the one conversation, you know, that it was, you know, conducted among the researcher and there's an engineer in the Honda, I mean a client, and then also there's a creative technologist in our agency side. And then even though the Honda had tons of big data, and then they treated us as a treasure, that's because there is a lot of, you know, there's precious things is there. And then there's even though they recognize it, they don't know how to make that the very best utilization. So that's it stimulate that's the creator's inspiration. And then that's everything was started there. So do please take a look at the video. Hope you like it. And then this interesting thing had happened. The next day that we uploaded the video on the YouTube, and also that's the Honda site. There's a lot of likes and shared, and also there's a lot of comment that we couldn't understand what they're saying. That's because it's almost all that's a comment are written in Portuguese. And then for Brazilian people, the Senna is a national hero. And then also he is still alive in the heart of the Brazilian people. And then I think even though the message is so simple, but it's very strong and bold. So I think in a blink of an eye, there's a lot of, it took off in a blink of the eye through the social network. So this is one case study. And the other one that I would like to share with you is Stettler, the pencil. The pencil is one of the simplest tools to draw the beautiful picture. But in Japan, we create the work which is, express the son's love to his father. So do please take a look at that video first.
I am an art director, and my father was an art director too. My father taught me about drawing when I was little. The pencils we used then were Stettlers. After my father retired, he got Alzheimer's, and he gradually lost the ability to assume facial expressions. I hit on the idea of catching my father's last facial expressions with a Stettler pencil. I drew my father's face and his favorite flowers, and these were used to create a Stettler brand poster, book, and TVC. I exhibited these works, and large numbers of people were moved by the first Stettler Japan brand TVC.
Stettler. Stettler.
Thank you. So I think now we'd like to open it up for Q&A. Okay. Any questions from the audience? Yes.
I actually had two questions, one for David and one for Brad. David, I know you said for each of your stores you give them a Facebook page or you let them open your own. Are you concerned about them knowing what to do, the content? If a manager leaves, does that page just fall apart? And then Brad, for you, how do you get all of your different stores, with a big field team, to bring those stories to one central location?
You want to answer yours first?
Sure. Concerned, I wouldn't say concerned, but I think it's a very legitimate question to ask. Some store managers embrace it more than others. That's just the way it is. I think the panel before lunch talking about millennials, we have some store managers who really get it. They tend to be some of our younger store managers. There was actually a gentleman who we hired on the communications team. He had been with us for about 2 years, then he went into the operations department and kind of moved up the ranks pretty quickly, and just last week was named a store manager in a store in St. Louis. And we already said he's going to be fantastic on social media. So he gets it. He's going to have a great Facebook page. But some are better than others. We can push content down from headquarters. Excuse me, things like pricing changes, specials we're running that day on Tide and different items and things like that. And that, I think, matters. But to the local store manager, to figure out whether there's the high school football game going on that weekend or whether there's a local contribution that the store gave. That can only come from the local stores, and the people who do it right really get really great results out of it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we get our stories through homing pigeons. I'm just kidding. It's awfully quiet in here. You know, I'd love to tell you that we have some really fancy system, but right now, to be honest, it's very relationship-driven marketing. My team spends a considerable amount of time working with our field operations team, getting out in the markets, talking to the multi-unit operators to gather those stories. But you know, most of it comes from an annual meeting where we engage with them and ask for the stories. Our operators are pretty proud of the brand. They don't have a problem just shooting us an email when something happens. They like taking pictures. And one of the things that we don't allow right now is you can't take a picture as an employee and post it on our Facebook page. It has to come through corporate to basically be approved. And that's another process that we have of hearing about them. But to be honest, most of it happens organically through the operations and marketing channels, just communicating with each other at this point. We have talked about setting up more of a formalized process moving forward, but we like things happening organically right now as opposed to forcing them.
Good. Another question?
Oh, come on.
Question? Any? There we go. Hey, Michael.
Hi there, Mike Lasky, Davis Gilbert, New York. So speaking about the the third of the population in those small towns called New York and Los Angeles, how other than having a lot of cough drops for people who are fighting colds, like myself and you and Sarah,
yep.
What's the strategy to understand the customer in the big city? Is that different than the places near Fayetteville and other parts of the country, or Bentonville? And give us a window into the strategy when you go into large urban areas.
Yeah, no problem. I apologize. I am getting over a cold. So if there's a question I don't want to answer, I'm just going to cough through it, and we'll just move on. No, look, there's differences across the country and across the world with customers, and what we try to do is make sure our stores are as relevant as they possibly can be for that customer base. So think about right here in Miami, we assort our stores a lot different here than we might in, say, Arkansas or in Chicago or Indiana or different places like that. There's a great store here. If you all get a chance to go, it's in Doral. It's our biggest super center. It's about 225,000 square feet. It's got about 750 employees that work there. The employees speak 7 different languages that work there, and it's really assorted for the local community here. So you have a heavy, Hispanic assortment of products in that particular store. So it's different. It just really depends on the store. The other thing that we're doing is we're investing a lot right now in e-commerce. And so right now, for shoppers, for residents of New York City, we already do about $200 million a year in sales in New York City without having a store there. That's simply through our e-commerce platforms. It's probably the #1 destination for our e-commerce shoppers, the biggest city, where we ship the most products to. So we can serve customers in other ways without having to build stores. There's another fairly successful retailer that is pretty good online. They're in the process of trying to create more points of distribution, physical points of distribution, to get their product to customers faster. We have lots of points of distribution in the U.S. And around the world, and we're trying to figure out ways to get better online and mobile and serve the customer that way, because the customer doesn't care. The customer doesn't know the difference, and in this day and age, they want to be able to interact with your brand however and whenever they want. And so we can serve other areas, and that's what we're working on in places like New York and D.C., but you still have to have the product that's relevant to them.
Very good. Thank you all. I really do appreciate you being here with us today. So thank each of you for taking the time, and thank you all for attending this panel. We certainly do appreciate it because we all need content that connects. So thank you for your insights and information. We really do appreciate it. Okay. Thank you.